And once again, this is the ESB 2026 player rankings. As today, we talk about the top 10 shortstop heading into the 2026 season. And as you've seen on your last few episodes, I'm joined once again by Corey, Favs, and KEEF here. Fellas, today, whatever time you're we're talking about the shortstop position. And the shortstop position for years has been relatively a deep position. But I feel like going into 2026, we're probably seeing the deepest class of shortstops we've seen in quite a while, Corey, Favs.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. And you look at this list, I mean, we're going to reveal 10 names tonight. There's a couple of guys on here that definitely could have earned a spot in the top 10 that did not. And there's guys here that are in the bottom half of the top 10 that in normal years would be top half of the top 10. It's just such a deep position, very top heavy, but very deep at the same time. It's just a weird year, how deep this position is, especially coming off we're doing shortstop tonight, coming off second base and third base, other infield spots, which were barren, and you have guys barely making the 10th and 9th spots. You could have easily added another 3 guys on top of this list.
Absolutely. Keith, we're looking at the 2025 rankings last year, looking at a couple of players at the back end we already talked about in the third base position that have made their full transition over there. But yeah, a lot of names here that you've typically seen over past rankings. Keith, talk to me about the selecting the top 10 shortstops for you. I know you had some frustration as well getting into this.
Yeah, man. It's arguably the deepest position, in my opinion, in the sport. The best athletes usually play the position, so that's why we tend to see a lot of these guys that one year they're at short, the next year they're maybe at third or maybe a corner outfield spot. But I thought last year was a really good year for the position. I think there's a lot less stress when saying, when you get to the number 7 slot, you kind of have a set group of names. It's just you're kind of splitting hairs, but I'd say there are about 12 to about 15 shortstops that are really good. And, having a top 10 probably doesn't do it justice, but we're gonna highlight it as best as we could. I struggled significantly with this list because as I've been the weird voter when it comes to these lists because I've been the guy who's been awarding guys taking the most of their opportunities and guys really, really shining. I haven't really been projecting for the next year, which I think is really, really hard. But with this position, I think in that regard, I could understand where it could be a little bit more easier because you can see some ascending names in the league, especially at the shortstop position.
Well, let's get into it. Our top 10 shortstops heading into the 2026 season. We kick it off in the number 10 position with a new name, Jacob Wilson, who was part of the Rookie of the Year conversation, actually finished second to his teammate Nick Kurtz, who we had covered back at the first base position. So Jacob Wilson makes the list at number 10 after hitting 311, 355, 444 last season, 800 OPS, 13 homers, 63 RBI. Such a solid year for the young man, Jacob Wilson, in his age 23 season and looking to take the next step in his sophomore year come 2026. Our number 9 is Jeremy Pena, who's not been featured on this list, considering some inconsistencies since that magical postseason run he had years ago in 2022. But last year, by far, was his best overall season. Hit 304 at the shortstop position, hit 17 homers, stole 20 bags, had an 840 OPS, a 132 OPS plus. Jeremy Pena cracks the list at number 9. And at number 8 is somebody who's used to this list year after year after year. Actually, he was number 1 in this position a few years back. Now he's up to back down to number 8, down 3 positions from his number 5 in 2025. That's Corey Seager. Corey Seager, the Texas Rangers shortstop. And the problem with Seager just year after year is health. His inability to stay on the field. His last 3 years, 102 games in 25, 123 games in 2024, 119 in 2023. Hasn't really put the seasons together that you would want from a durability standpoint when it comes to Corey Seager there. But Corey Favs, when we're taking a look at our 3 here, what jumps out to you?
mean, I love Jacob Wilson, and I know he missed a little bit of time last year with what do you have, a fractured forearm? But the young shortstop on that young A's team, that young, fun A's team. I'm actually excited for the A's this year too.
Very
But
much
Jacob
so.
Wilson, again, a 311 average, 800 OPS, and basically, his rookie year. I know he had a little bit of a debut the year prior, but his first basically full season. That's really nice to see. And again, in such a deep position for a young kid to crack the top 10, I love to see it. And real quick, too, on Corey Seager, down 3 spots. The thing with Seager is, could he stay healthy? Because when he's on the field, he's elite. He's easily a top 5 shortstop on this list any given day. But in the last 11 seasons, he's only played more than 125 games 4 times. But when he's on the field, there's no doubt about it. The guy can absolutely hit the ball. But the question with him, can he stay on the field? We'll see if he can this year.
Keefe, what do you got for us? Shaking your head over there.
Yeah, man. I'll be quick. I'll start with the positives. It's nice to see Jacob Wilson. This is pretty high for first full year at the position. Like first, like true, like
Yep.
he had a breakout campaign. So he was awesome in that regard. So kudos to him. I'm not too bent out of shape with that. I want to give, I'm real consistent. This was Jeremy Pena's year to like kind of ascend himself as a leader for the Astros. He had a nice year. I think this is an okay range for him. I maybe debatable to say, but for me, I'm okay with that. I think he was pretty good last year. I have a problem with Mr. Number 8, and that is Corey Seager. I didn't have him in my top 10, and it's not that I dislike the player. I think he, like Corey said, when he's on the field, he's a very, very, very good offensive player as a shortstop. His defense could be a little bit more improved, but he's a game changer. He's a moments player, clutch player, and we've seen like really good campaigns from him in the past, but he just cannot stay healthy. And I think that railroad, the Rangers season last year, and it could railroad it at any moment with him not on the field. I really, really do believe that. In that regard, it also makes it, you can say that he's that important and he's that good that he should be considered, amongst the top 10. But like, there's
Correct.
other guys out there that I thought they had a really good campaign. They could have had that spot. That's just my only gripe with it. He is a good player though.
Yeah. It really just comes down to health. And I think if you look at another season where Corey Seager is just not featured on the baseball field, I think he's out of his top 10 altogether heading into 2027. I think that's, at least that's what the trend's saying here for ESB measurements, but that's what it's looking like. All righty, let's move on to our next part of the list. We go to number 7, and with number 7, 6, and 5, I'll throw it over to our guy, Keith.
Yes, sir. All right, coming in at number 7, arguably the biggest surprise in all of baseball, Geraldo Perdomo of the Arizona Diamondbacks. What a campaign it was for the young shortstop. He completely turned heads last year, having one of the best seasons a shortstop could have in 2026. It was awesome to see the breakout campaign from Mr. Perdomo. We get at number 6 a resurgent season for Trey Turner. I thought he was very, very good last year. One of the more better Phillies last year. In a season where a lot of people probably thought he was going to have like a little bit of a downtick and a decline, he actually had one of his better years as a player. So Trey Turner lands at number 6, rightfully so. And at number 5, the transition finally pays off. Mookie Betts arrives, top 5 shortstop for 2026. That is a debatable name for some. I would love to hear your guys' opinions. For me, though, I will say this. I think the defensive performance of Mookie Betts last season was so good, I can't argue where anybody puts him because that is an outfielder.
Yes.
And he's such a good athlete that when I was making my list, this was one of the most difficult decisions I had, that I almost said, regardless if someone put him 1 or they put him 15th, I won't judge it because he's like an enigma. But before I hand it over to you guys, big kudos to Trey Turner. I'm one of his biggest haters. I need to just put that out there. I call him Tina. He had a great campaign last year. He was sensational, so I want to give him a lot of props. He did a really good job last year. But we also, flowers to Geraldo Perdomo.
Yeah.
A sensational year. But I really want to hear you guys' thoughts on Mookie Betts.
Yeah, I mean, my thing with Mookie Betts too, it's crazy because this is another guy that I could see him easily being top 5 this year. I could see him off the list, and it
Yeah.
depends, what type of year you're going to get from Mookie Betts.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's in the back end of his career as opposed to the front end at 33 years old. He's also coming off his worst OPS at 732, but he also had that weird bug last year. Like he
Yeah.
was
I agree.
unwell
Yep.
this time last year.
Yep.
You're right.
But yeah, from a defensive standpoint, I was concerned. Primarily outfield. Yeah, he has infield experience, but most of his recent career has been outfield, shifted to shortstop, and he's held his own. So he's a wild card. I think part of it might be giving him a top 5 vote based on name recognition more than anything. But I think the middle of the top 10 makes sense for now, and we'll see how this year unfolds. I could easily see him back in the top 3. I could easily see him outside the list, just depending on the year.
And I remember around this time last year, our shortstop list was heavily criticized by the folks out there that are taking in the ESB content. We really do appreciate it and love you guys for it. A couple of complaints was, why is Bo Bichette on your top 10 list? Well, Bo Bichette proved it with his bat why he belonged in that top 10 list by year end. It was just more of a could he stay healthy kind of thing. He had his in and out there. Mookie Betts, the pushback Mookie Betts last year is, well, this is his first full-time year at shortstop. How do you put him in the number 4 position before he even takes the baseball field? A lot of the pushback again was, well, his offensive metrics speak for himself. This year, it was essentially the opposite. The defense spoke at shortstop. He didn't have the prime Mookie Betts season, although, again, from a shortstop, you're taking 20 home runs, 82 RBIs, a 258 batting average, a 732 OPS. I'm sure Yankee fans would take that at shortstop any day over who they currently have at shortstop right now. So Mookie Betts, again, at the 5 spot, but I absolutely see this argument for Trey Turner as well. I mean, Trey Turner, you talk about that first Philly season where it didn't look like he had it, and these last 2 years, he's looked like the Trey Turner that we know and love.
Rich, real quick, I do want to point out, I love that you said what you said. It was the inverse this past season for Mookie, and I love what Corey said. He started out with that crazy bug where he lost all that weight and whatever happened. He was, if I'm not mistaken, he had the best DRS for any shortstop in the game last year, and that was his first time playing the position. Yeah. It's almost like when I was doing my list, I said that alone, like I will look at that and weigh that way much more than a decline in offense for a guy who completely changed his position. That that is insane. Like I really have to highlight that. Like I don't want to weigh too much on these 3 because I know we have more to go. But the cool part about these 3 players, and one of them I do not like, is the guy in the middle. All 3 of them did something really special last year. You had a super breakout campaign from Geraldo Perdomo. You had a very, very comeback to earth season with Trey Turner because a lot of people wrote him off, me included. And you had something that we never see in Mookie Betts. Yep. And I think what Mookie Betts did last year, hot take, is going to change the sport moving forward. There's going to be a lot more guys moving positions like the way they did if they know they're athletic enough. And I think the Mets are a case study of that.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to move forward into our next 3 here, our 4-3-2. And with that, Corey Favs, take it away.
Yeah, at the number 4 spot, you got Elly De La Cruz, who is easily the most exciting, most electric player on this list. And forget about this list, one of the most electric players in the game. I know last year from a stolen base standpoint, had 37, which is still great, had 67 in 2024. So the guy, obviously, he's got the legs. He's so fun to watch. He's got some pop. He's got a cannon arm. Really electric guy out there, and I like that 4th spot for Elly De La Cruz. Gunnar Henderson, again, this is a former top prospect in baseball, former was he rookie of the year, but he's young. He's only 24 years old, young guy, but took a step back last year. Could have 17 bombs, but that was coming off a 2024 campaign where he had 37. So definitely not the best campaign last year for Gunnar Henderson, but for someone so young who's done it so well, I still have very high hopes in Gunnar Henderson. I think he's going to have a nice year for the Orioles. And number two, I mean, this guy almost won the MVP in 2024, if not for Shohei Ohtani. This guy is the best shortstop in my franchise's history. This guy gets some unnecessary criticism. Yeah, he might start the year for the first
Mhm.
4 or 5 weeks, only hitting a $150, but year in, year out, this guy's going to deliver. He's going to give you 30 home runs. He's going to give you good average, good defense. He's going to give you phenomenal
Fantastic defense.
play, and that is future Hall of Famer Met shortstop Francisco Lindor. It's hard not to put him number one because there is someone that we'll get to in a moment who just has the better output. But Francisco Lindor, very well deserving of this spot, and I'm very glad he's the shortstop of my team.
Yeah, I'm a huge Met fan. He's my favorite player. And there's arguments to say that he probably had a down season. I think what he did last year, being that he actually got off to a good start. He had a rough, I think, June, and he
Yeah,
still finished. He still finished with the numbers he finished with, were was simply amazing. Um, Now we all know Ellie De La Cruz, most exciting player in the game, but he
Mhm.
had a little bit of a setback in the second half last year too. I think Ellie De La Cruz at some point in the future could actually be number one on this list. He could actually rival who we're going to get into.
Mhm.
Gunner, I actually think, to kind of keep the trend, I think at some point he's the next guy on this list that moves over to third base. I think he's a sensational talent. Last year had some injuries. Yes, took a step back. I love all three of these guys. I think this is a very exciting group. Honestly, it's like splitting hairs at this point,
yeah.
truly. So like we don't need to go too in depth. But
Mhm.
hot take, I think Ellie De La Cruz, if he stays at shortstop, I think the ceiling is higher than most.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you on the Henderson take. He did come up and well came up through the system as a shortstop, debuted as a third baseman, if we want to remember his debut season, and then he's been at shortstop ever since. So that definitely is in there for Gunnar Henderson and his profile moving forward. Yeah, Ellie De La Cruz is just like I'm right there with you. I think next year, if Bobby Witt has any kind of setback or Ellie De La Cruz just takes that next step, yeah, I think De La Cruz is right there, that number one, number two spot, moving forward. But look at Francisco Lindor. I mean, Lindor back at it again at the number two spot again. We get into our number one guy that Corey alluded to before. Our number one guy is just insane, and there's just no debate there at that shortstop position. But Lindor still putting up the numbers that most shortstops are simply just not putting up at the position. Defensively, he's fantastic. And of course, he's our New York guy. So we got to show him a little bit of New York love here. So Lindor at that number two spot, well deserved. But let's get right into it. Our number one, and I don't think really much is a secret. Not going to do the big lead. Keeps doing such a great job with the introing of the number ones. I think it's just so obvious. It's Bobby Witt Jr., of course. Kansas
Yes,
City Royals,
sir.
Bobby Witt Jr., our number one shortstop. It was really between him and Anthony Volpe that we were really considering for this spot. But Bobby Witt gets the majority of the votes here. So Bobby Witt, again, another MVP caliber season. And if it wasn't for another fantastic athlete that plays for a New York baseball team, he probably would have won a couple of AL MVPs. But Bobby Witt
Yeah.
last year, Bobby Witt hit 295, 351 on base, 501 slug, 852 OPS. I mean, guys, you wouldn't think this is a shortstop. I mean, this is insane. And he's also just 2 seasons removed from this batting title year where he hit 332. Last year led the league in doubles, 23 homers. I mean, this guy has just put up insane numbers at the shortstop position. You wouldn't think that he's just coming off his age 25 season. Just the resume, he's already on a Hall of Fame trajectory. We're only 4 seasons in
Yes.
the Bobby Witt Jr. here, Corey
Yeah.
Favs.
It's scary. But I mean, yeah, you mentioned, I mean, he's still young and already putting up these numbers at a premium position. I mean, he's a 2-time Gold Glover. He would have won an MVP if not for Aaron Judge. He was MVP 4 last year as well. So 2 years in the top 5 voting for MVP. MLB hit leader 2 years in a row. I mean, the guy is an absolute stud at the position. And it's scary. Like, it is he going to even get better? At this age, there's still a little room for growth there. So it'll be scary to see him, even if he takes a little bit of a step forward on top of what he's already doing now. Really scary. And if anything were to happen to Aaron Judge, I mean, this guy is easily going to be the next best bet to be an MVP in the American League.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I think he's an elite baseball player. I actually think last year was a little bit beneath his standards. and he still put up those numbers.
Yeah.
I wouldn't put it out of the realm where he can possibly have. I think in my opinion, there's a 40-40 season in that player, and
Oh
I
yeah.
truly believe it's possible.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely. 30 stolen bases, 49, 31, 38 is what he's been working with in these 4 years. Just absolute beast. There's your top 10 right there. Wilson, Pena, Seager, Perdomo, Turner, Betts, De La Cruz, Henderson, Lindor, Bobby Witt. And without further ado, let's take a look at the money slide and see what's going on here. Yeah, everybody across the board on Bobby Witt Jr. It's nice to see that there was no bias thrown into the mix. And Bobby Witt prevails as your number one. Lindor, number two across the board. I'm very curious what Tom did here. I mean, had Lindor in the number 4 spot here. But this is Tom, right? KEEF, this is what Tom's been doing.
I've noticed as my eyes go far right to just expect nonsense, but yeah.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, yeah. I mean, it's funny. I think that's become like the immediate thing that people do. They just, let's take a look at what's going on all the way at the right. And then let's take a look at what's going on all the way at the left and see where we can
Literally.
fill in between. Anything stick out to you, Corey Favs, where we're looking at this list? I mean, it looks like all our guys are in here. I mean, I see CJ Abrams got in there. Zach Neto, who is a high consideration. Dansby Swanson. I mean, there's not really a lot of big call outs here.
Yeah, I will say I like the Adonis pick by you, KEEF. He was right on the cusp.
Yep.
But like we were saying earlier, there's so many guys that could have snuck in here. He was my personal number 11. Just missed it. And you spoke about him before. I mean, Mr. Perdomo. I'm very, very high on him. The thing with him, again, because he's so young and really only had the one breakout year, does he take a step back? Is he that type of player? Is he a better player? I'm taking the gamble that he even improves a little bit more on top of what he did. I mean, at 26 years old, a 290 average, 850 OPS at the shortstop position. I think there's even a little more room for growth. So that's why I went so high on Perdomo. I just think he's a great player.
I actually, while I was ranked, and I took into account his breakout campaign, and I kept saying it's just that 1 year. But honestly, looking at all the metrics, other than like his exit velocity, I should have had him higher. I think I valued Pena's attempt to be the leading player of that team a little bit too much. I think I should have had Perdomo a little higher, so I got to take an L on my part. The reason why I threw Adames in there is because actually Adames, like his second half was really awesome. He finished with some of the better stats of the position. So, but yeah, honestly, I'm not too mad at most of these. Even the Neto pick, like for Tom, like Neto was pretty good for the Angels.
Yeah, he was.
You know, like he wasn't a bad player by any means. I mean, Abrams, I think Abrams is not a top 10 shortstop, but also a player who you blink and he can hit 30 home runs and steal 25 bags. So this is a real tough position. I wouldn't like be too critical on these rankings.
And it's not like Tom really lost. Again, the 3 people he left out of his list were the bottom 3 in the consensus list. So it's not like he left off a Turner or a Betts or a Lindor and went with somebody that's, looking for more of a breakout year than anything. The question I have, I know he's not here to help, like Corey Seager at number 4 for Joe is relatively very high. I mean, consider again, the guy just can't stay on the field. I know what he can do when he can stay on there, but
he plays 160, sure.
Like Trout to be in that position.
If he plays 160, Corey Seager's numbers they're not going to be Witt numbers, but they're going to be top 3 numbers. But there's a better chance of me playing a single game at shortstop than Corey Seager playing 160. And I'm not playing shortstop.
He gave some love to Dansby Swanson, which I do like because Dansby Swanson is not a bad baseball player. I don't think he's a top 10 shortstop, but he's a very complete shortstop. He's probably like your base level shortstop. Really, really good defender. Has some pop because he could get you 20 home runs. He's a probably good lower bat of the order kind of guy, but he's a good baseball player. He should be recognized in some regard. So, again, there's so we really don't have any true debate here. I mean, all these guys are good, and if anything, some of these guys just hopefully they stay a little bit more healthy so they can make these rankings a little bit harder. But I truly think this is again going to be a difficult ranking come next year.
I absolutely agree with that. Shortstop, the deepest position, possibly the best position in baseball now. A lot of fun doing these rankings. Gentlemen, really do appreciate your time, but that's going to be it for our play rankings for the shortstop position. So our next position will be the catching spot, and then we're going to wrap things up with our outfielder, and then we'll be done. That's it.
Yeah. We're all
As we
done.
count down the days to the 2026 baseball season, that's it from us here for Shortstops. Take care.